Hey everyone, so we are off until the second week of January, but this week we are releasing our latest installment of After Dark to the public.
For more bonus content like this every week, visit patreon.com/millennial.
You'll receive instant access to years of After Dark installments, ad-free Millennial, and so much more.
Those who pledge at the $10 level will receive an annual gift and a monthly Zoom hangout with the gang. And speaking of that, we're actually recording our next one on January 3rd.
That's patreon.com/millennial. Thanks. And now, enjoy After Dark.
This is After Dark for 748, our final After Dark of the year.
Wow.
Gosh, we must release, what? It's got to be well over 120 hours of content a year, I would think.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy to think about. So let's talk about ghosting. What was this inspired by?
This was inspired by a post in the Millennial Facebook group that I saw pop up a couple of weeks ago. And this person that wrote this out, I'm not going to name them because this is going out publicly and, you know, I did not ask, but they said that they were relatively new to online dating and had been chatting with somebody only in the app for a bit, but had kind of come to the conclusion that it was not really going to go anywhere. And so they wanted to know if it was okay to ghost them or if they should offer up an explanation as to why they were basically saying thanks, but no thanks, I'm good. So I thought that this was kind of interesting because people that weighed in had some different viewpoints, and I wanted to know what our individual stances on ghosting is and if we have done it, and what the reason why was if we did.
I don't have much trouble ghosting people.
This is like no surprise.
Well, hold on.
I'm shocked.
I was going to add more to this. If I do feel some sort of connection with the person, if I get the sense that they're a genuinely nice person who mean well, who are just wholesome like Pam, I won't have the heart to ghost them. I want the best for them. I'm not going to be a mean person to them. I want to, support their efforts to date, stuff like that. So I don't ghost everybody, but there are situations where like the conversation is just not going well. There's no connection at all. This person isn't really flooring me in any regard. I'm just not feeling it. It is so easy to ghost them. And sometimes it's just not worth the trouble of saying, hey, I don't think this is working out. Because then there's a conversation that comes with that sometimes too. Oh, I thought it was working out. Oh, shit. Now I have to come up with a reason why I'm not interested in this person. It can get a little messy. So I will ghost, but I don't always do it.
For me, it's very circumstantial. And I will say that I've had occasions where if somebody messaged me and I went and had a look at their profile and noticed some like red flags, like they voted for Trump or they don't like dogs or something like that. In those cases, I wouldn't even bother replying. I would just move on. If I'm actively in a conversation with somebody and they just give off douche vibes and they're going down the whole like, hey, what's your number? I would prefer to text than be on this app. Or if they're asking like really suggestive questions without having gotten to a point of rapport where that's okay, I would ghost somebody in that instance. But if I'm having a, decent, polite conversation with somebody who seems, like you said, Andrew, to be a genuine person, then I would usually tell them the truth. I remember one time I was talking to this guy who seemed like a perfectly nice person, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm not really, clicking too much here, but I didn't want to just ghost you and make you wonder what happened. You seem like a cool person and I wish you the best. And he wrote back and was like, oh, you know what? I really appreciate you telling me, and I totally understand. Wishing you the best too. And we went our separate ways and it was fine. So in cases like that, yeah, absolutely. But I don't know, if someone's being a dick, I don't feel like I should need to do that, you know?
I have ghosted so many people and and I've evolved. I've evolved on the subject, but I was a tried and true sorority girl. And that was the culture. You know, there was frat men in my, it's true. There was frat men in my DMs and, you know, we would talk for a little and then I'd be over it and I would just not bother and I'd ghost. My senior year, I went on a date with a guy who was like genuinely into rocks and he talked about rocks the whole time. And like, I love that for him. I love that's a passion for him. But I couldn't get a word in at all. And he thought it went so well. He was like, oh my gosh.
Because he got to talk about
this is it.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I don't blame him. Like, I'm hot as fuck. And I literally was like, just staring at this man while he talked about rocks. And he like texted me when I got home. And I realized that I had matured finally when I messaged him and was like, I'm sorry. I don't think this is going to work out, but I wish you well. And then he acted like he wasn't into me. And I was like, good one. I think that what everyone says is true. It's circumstantial. And, you know, if a guy is an asshole, why would you respond? I also think it depends on the length that you're talking to someone. But on dating apps, I think that it's so normal to ghost someone if you're not into them anymore. So I don't think there's any issue with ghosting on a dating app. But if you're actually already like, you've already gone out with this person and you've like had a genuine conversation with them, I think just letting them know is better. But I was a savage for a long time. No fucks given, just bye. See ya.
You know what? I met a guy on a dating app that we met up in real life and we dated for a few months. And in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, if I was ever going to ghost anyone, it should have been that guy. You know, like I shouldn't have felt the need to let him down easy or like be mature about it. It's like sometimes some people just deserve to get ghosted, you know?
And Chloe, you mentioned all he was doing was talking about his rocks and not letting you get a word in, like not asking about your interests. It sounds like, that's a problem.
And I mean, I've gone on quite a few dates like this where a guy will be like, oh my God, like you're so beautiful, whatever. And then just not let me speak. And I think that it's like an internalized misogyny thing where it's like, maybe I don't have anything that's worth hearing. And I've had that experience a lot, just from people underestimating me for whatever reason. And these guys treating me honestly like an object. And I think that's an experience that most women have. But at that point, I'm like, bye. Like, I am so much more, you know, I'm intelligent and funny. And I don't really care usually that much actually about looks. I care way more about connection. And for me, it was like, dude, I am so much more. And you didn't even take the time to get to know me. And you think you're super into me, but you're really only into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So well put. I once went out on a first date with a guy. We met because we were working in the same building and we both had editorial internships, and he just would not stop talking about what a big deal his editorial internship was. And he was talking to me as if I had no idea like what the industry was about. It's like, dude, I work like at the publication over from yours. And this is a very big publication too. So I don't know like who you think I am, but this is not going to work.
Mansplaining.
Oh
yeah, it was just really funny.
Listeners, if I can give you one recommendation for a date, especially the early dates, work your ass off to make the conversation as balanced as possible.
Please.
It cannot be one-sided. The whole time you're on that date, you need to be thinking about, am I talking too much? Are they not talking enough? And balance that all out. Ask questions, get questions back. If both of you are trying to do that, it's going to be a great date. Hopefully, maybe you don't even have to think about it. There's just that natural chemistry, and it just works out beautifully. But that is something you have to keep in mind on early dates.
And it's so easy to, like, even if you're not used, I treat like, it's so bad. I treat every date like an interview, going to like an interview for work. Cause that's basically what it is, you know?
I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
But like, even if you're like a little shaky on that, it's so easy to just like ask somebody the same question that they just asked you, you
Yeah,
know, like somebody
true.
says like, what do you do for work? You can answer and just be like, oh, what do you do for work?
Well, what about you?
What about you? Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like you could start there and work your way up to something a little bit more
Mhm.
nuanced, but there's no excuse for monologuing or taking up the entire conversation.
My current boyfriend was a serial ghoster before me, and he didn't admit this until like much later, but he had like ghosted people that he had been with for like months. And he told me, he was like, "You're the first girl I've actually never ghosted." And I was like, "Wow, what? What is that like?" And he's like, "Yeah, in New York, you just ghost and block people.
Ooh.
And that's how you end things." I'm like,
That's
Jesus
savage.
Christ.
In this, like
I
in the
know.
city?
Yeah, I
Wow.
was like, I mean, he was like, he grew up in Brooklyn and he went to school in the city, and that's where he lives now. And I was like,
It's way too small
damn.
there. I ran into when I was in New York, I ran into somebody that I had not seen in 10 years.
Yeah, no thanks.
I would have too much anxiety to do that.
And
That's crazy.
I have to say, in defense of rock aficionados, there's nothing wrong with collecting rocks.
No,
Signed by-
there's nothing wrong
There
with
is
it.
nothing wrong, because I used to collect rocks. What do you think of that? Huh? What do you think of that?
The first guy I hooked up with in college was also a geology major. Maybe I have a thing for guys with rocks. I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe they have a thing for me. I think it's super cool as long as it's not all you talk about. And
Right,
this guy
right.
we were at a park and he was straight up pointing to rocks and he was like, "This is like what it sedentary rock because of this and this." And I was
Love a
like,
good sedentary.
I want to die.
Think of
I
all
gotta
the
go.
puns. Hey, that date rocked.
but it was though.
You shine
my
like my
gosh.
favorite minerals. They're minerals, Marie. That's a Breaking Bad reference for everybody.
Mariah wants to know if you can hook her up with Rock Guy.
I saw Mariah Boo Boo. Mariah Boo Boo. I got you. I'll hook you up. He's a tall Jew into rocks. If that's your thing,
That rhymed kind of.
100%. Tall Jew into rocks.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? That is my type. Awkward.
Revelation.
So we've learned today that we've all ghosted. Have we ever been ghosted, and were we upset by that?
So yes, are you kidding?
Yep.
It does hurt.
It
You
feels
got to
so
keep that in
bad.
mind
It
when you
feels
ghost
so
other people.
Oh, this frat president. I had such a big crush on him. He was a senior and I was a freshman, which is problematic to begin with. But he ghosted me and my little heart was broken.
I went on a couple dates with a guy several years ago, and it seemed like we were hitting it off. We had a lot in common. We talked for a long time. It just seemed kind of easygoing. And all of a sudden, after our second date, I never heard from him again. Like, not on like account of him trying to reach out to me. So after a few days went by, I just sent him a text and was like, "Hey, like, how you doing?" And he responded as though he had not ghosted me. And he was just like, "Oh, hey, what's up? How are you doing?" And like had a normal conversation with me. And then like a few more days went by because the conversation kind of lulled, it kind of died. A few more days went by and nothing. And so I texted him and I was like, "Hey, I'm kind of getting the vibe that you're not interested in pursuing this further." And he was like, "Yeah, I think that would be for the best."
At least you got your answer, but that's pretty funny.
And I still don't know what I did.
You were too sexy, too intimidating,
No.
too intelligent. No,
Damn right.
that was the reason. 100%. He was intimidated by your plethora of gifts.
Gifts. Yep.
There it is.
I thought you were going to say by your plethora of drip, to bring it home to the show.
Yeah, Laura used so much steez that he,
I was
that
just
he couldn't
intimidated
handle
by
it.
my drip.
Yeah, he probably was. Little men can't handle amazing women. They need partners that will level with them. That's what I say to convince myself when someone doesn't like me back. I'm like, they couldn't handle how awesome and sexy and cool I was.
Honestly, that's a great way to look at it. That's a very positive.
Exactly.
Yeah. I highly encourage that.
Friends too.
Yeah.
And if someone's like, don't forget, if someone's intimidated by you, it's them that's intimidated. Like, you're not intimidating, they're intimidated. Like, you genuinely should go through, I think this is advice for any situation, any relationship that ends. They were just not worthy of you or spending time with you. And they needed to level up and they couldn't.
Amen.
So they're gone.
Amen.
That's a good motivational speech. My favorite was this one time that I was chatting with this guy and it kind of fizzled out. So I kind of forgot about it. And then like 3 months later, he messages me and goes, "Hey, sorry I haven't replied back, but he was the last one to reply."
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Hello, bot. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, it was really weird. It's like, I took a break, but like, how are you doing? And I was like, no, I'm okay. Like, I completely forgot that you existed, so we're fine. I did not feel the need to respond back. Yeah. It's just like sometimes when you're talking to somebody new, this kind of goes back to being a good conversationalist on a first date. Like, if the conversation fizzles out and then you don't ask a question or like nobody has a follow-up question, usually that's probably a sign that it's not going to progress past the first stage of talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured that one wasn't going to go anywhere, which was fine. But yeah, it was pretty funny to get this message like months later being like, hey.
I love when people come out of the woodwork that you talk to, like sometimes years ago, and maybe they ghosted you and they come back because they're horny and they're like, "Hey, what are you up to?" It's like, bitch, you ghosted me. Not like
nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, goodbye. That is my least favorite.
Yeah.
When guys are like, "Hey, I'm still here," or when they like upswipe on an Instagram story and they're like, "Oh my God, how are you?" Shut the fuck up. Better, because you're not in my life.
What's that really good Instagram account? Text from my ex. I recommend that.
Yes,
that's a good one.
I did text my ex the other day.
Chloe, why?
No, okay, listen, he's my first love.
Aw.
He is magic. I genuinely he did nothing bad. We were, we lost it to each other, all that stuff. Like he meant so much to me. And he popped in my head the other day and I got a weird feeling about it. And I get weird feelings all the time, kind of like how I knew Laura got my gift. And I thought that something happened. So I messaged him and was like, "Hey, you popped in my head. I hope you're doing well." Because he's my first love and I still care about him. I'm not trying to slide or anything.
No, yeah. I think it's perfectly okay to check in on exes. I mean, sometimes you become friends with them after. Mm-hmm. And that's great. I love that.
We're sort of friends. Yeah. It depends on the ex, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, in the case of...
You can wish somebody well, sometimes it takes some time, but...
Yeah, or
I think that's okay.
Say,
it's been years. Yeah.
Say happy birthday.
Mm-hmm. The Happy New Year text. That one is always a good one.
I would not recommend a Happy New Year text. Happy birthday. It's their birthday. You were with them for, a year or more.
Right. Yeah, the Happy New Year text could maybe send a signal that you're not wanting to send.
Yeah. Maybe this is the year I get them back.
He's an engineer. He's doing well for himself.
Oh God. This is the most ironic thing that's ever happened and probably will ever happen in my life is that my longest relationship was the first year I was in college and we dated for 2 years. And then I found out maybe 3 years ago that he had a daughter and she was born on my birthday.
Oh,
and
wow.
I cannot make this shit up.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And for a minute
totally
I thought
the universe.
we're not in contact anymore, but I just thought I wonder if he thought about me because at that point,
oh, for sure.
Yeah. And I was like, what a funny coincidence. The universe is having a really good laugh. I don't know at whose expense, probably more his than mine. But
yeah, every time he celebrates his daughter's birthday, he's going to be like, "Oh, right, Pam."
Right.
every time.
Every
Wow.
time. I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's God.
And
Or the universe or whatever it is interfering. Now you will never leave his brain.
I know. I will be living rent free forever.
That feels good though,
Yes.
right? That feels
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Yeah,
It kind of does.
yeah.
That one was like weird and he was a little too much at the end, but
My first boyfriend changed his phone number. Me and him went in on a family plan, I think. I can't remember the backstory here. But
What?
he had to change his phone number and get the area code that I grew up in. And so for the rest of the time, his phone number has my area code for my
That's
that is kind of evil
But it's
genius.
kind of the same thing where it's like, he'll never forget me. Because his
Wait,
area code is
Andrew.
my fucking area code.
Andrew, something just popped in my head that I've been dying to ask you and Laura, and you can absolutely 1000% cut it out to the public.
Oh, I'm scared.
But you offhandedly mentioned that the ship that never happened, because obviously, like, you're gay and into men. Did Laura and you ever like each other when you were
I
young?
totally had a crush on Andrew. I totally did.
Yes.
that's so
I
cute.
see. I thought it was Eric, but then when you said that, I was like, maybe it's Andrew. Oh shit.
I love that you were playing like conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm imagining you pause and go, wait.
Yeah, no, I really had that math meme, the woman with the math meme with all the math in her head. I was like, one of you said something offhandedly, and I was like, shut the fuck up. That's so funny. And then I was like, oh my God, Laura, how hard.
I mean,
Like, that's so sad. Like, no, it's not sad that you're gay. It's sad.
Sometimes it sets you free though, right? Because you're thinking like, man, I wish I could just like get over this person.
That's
But
true.
then
Maybe
they
it
go,
was better.
oh, by the way, I'm gay. And then you go, I'm free. I don't have to deal with this
True.
anymore.
I was in high school, right? So, it was definitely something like I remember finding out and being like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Like,
because how could he not love you?
no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Laura was over there like, pick me, choose me, love me.
Love me. Well, I saw Eric sent me a picture of y'all the other day, and I was like, shit, maybe it's Eric. Because y'all are, that picture that I posted is so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've got my head on his
Damn.
shoulder or something.
Yeah. I was like,
No, I mean, we're friends, but no.
I know. It's just my head. I was like, whoa, this must have been crazy back then.
It really
was.
wasn't.
Oh,
Well, not for me.
I mean, the fandom and the relationships and all that. That was what was crazy.
Yeah, were they shipping y'all? Because that's
Oh,
embarrassing.
there was shipping going on left and right. And I was
really
shipping
funny.
myself with a MuggleCast co-host. I'm not going to say. I mean, I probably said before. I was in love with Jamie. I was in love.
Was it? I feel like a lot of girls
I
were
think
like,
everyone
again,
was.
listened later
Right.
on, so didn't get that hype. But I was like, was researching MuggleCast, and a lot of things came up about Jamie, and I was like, who the fuck is Jamie? and I searched Jamie, and I'm like, oh, there's thirst here. A lot of
thirst. Yeah. Well, it's the British accent, the good looks. So, for us Americans, it was a lot to be taken by.
Accent automatically makes anybody 5 points hotter.
All right. I got to get this back under control. Thank you, Chloe. Camille says Chloe is providing the service we all need, but we need to take a step back.
No more muggle suck. It's just going to be Chloe asking you both questions and unearthing.
We love
dirty
this
secrets.
energy.
We're talking about relationships. We're talking about
We are.
relationships, and I thought it was appropriate. Whatever.
No, it
Okay,
it was, but we need to move back now. We're practically approaching 3 hours now. We got
All right. We'll make this quick to round off this discussion and leave things on a little bit more of maybe a positive note. Like I said at the beginning, I think this person that wrote this post that inspired the discussion mentioned that they were relatively new to dating apps. And so I figured that in the spirit of going into the new year, it might be nice to offer any advice we might have for anybody who's making it a goal to put themselves out there in terms of finding love in 2022.
Like I said before, balancing the conversation is really important, but play into each other's interests, please. When you see somebody's dating profile, Ask them questions about what you're reading. Look for the most interesting things. I see here that you are a big fan of rocks. Tell me about that. How many rocks do you have in your collection? I know it almost sounds like I'm kidding, but I'm actually dead serious.
No,
because
you
they
know what, though?
will respect
I will
that.
not respond unless somebody asks me a good question.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying these are good questions, right? I mean, I know it's not.
Of course. Yeah. Please ask me about
checking.
rocks if we match on Bumble or,
No.
whatever.
But if you said in your profile, I love collecting rocks.
100%. Like, because like, hey is not really a good conversation starter. But if you said like, I noticed that you like music. Like, what was your favorite album last year? Then I'd be like, oh, like, I would love to talk about my favorite album and ask you about like what you were listening to last year. So 100% that works.
Spotify or Apple Music? Do you still have your old CDs?
Oh, that might be a relationship deal breaker. I might ghost based on that answer alone.
They say Apple Music. You're like, that's cancer. Gotta go.
That's cancer. Oh my God.
Cancer.
I can say that because I had cancer.
Oh, okay. Right. Fair.
I get a cancer pass.
Oh man, I love that.
I was just going to say that be honest about what you're looking for, because there's nothing more frustrating than putting effort and time into a conversation, asking them about their interests, and then literally being like, oh, I'm just trying to fuck. Like, no, I don't. Be honest about what you're looking for. I actually appreciate the guys that when I was on apps, I am not currently, but when I was on apps, I appreciate the guys that were like, here for a good time, not a long time, even though it's the cringiest thing in the. You haven't heard that, Andrew?
No.
Here for a good time, not a long time. I appreciated that because, to be honest with you, it made me realize what they were looking for and whether or not I wanted to invest my time. So be honest if you're looking for a relationship or a hookup or you're not sure yet, because that will honestly give you a better chance to actually find the connection that you are looking for.
And I'll add to this too, because this actually came up recently with a friend who went on a date with somebody they met on Hinge. Like, if it's not clear, it's okay to ask them what they're looking for, to be, like Chloé said, to be honest about what you're looking for. Because that's a really easy way to weed out people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not a weird question to ask on the first date.
Yeah.
I would say too, and I know it's easier said than done, but try not to put so much pressure on yourself to find a relationship, because when you're putting that much pressure on yourself, it just makes it really hard to sort of like wade through the dating apps or whatever you might be using to meet people and actually find a genuine connection. Whereas when you back off a little bit and just live your life the way that you want to live it, you might end up finding somebody and you're not even looking for them, right?
Oh.
Like that, I feel like when people put so much pressure on themselves, it causes you to like overanalyze every little thing. And then it's like, are you even enjoying dating? Or is it just something that stresses you out because you feel like you have to do it?
I love that. You always find what you're not looking for. So I think that if you put that energy out into the universe and just have fun with it, then good things will happen. And dating apps have gotten much more serious, to be honest with you. And like more and more people are actually finding love on dating apps, and specifically Hinge. Like if you're looking for a relationship, half of my friends have met on Hinge. So get on that. But I also ask like what their Hogwarts house is. That's usually my opener. Like when I did.
That's a great opener.
Because I wanted to know, like, Harry Potter is such a big deal to me that, like, if they were like, oh, I don't like that stupid shit, like, immediate block.
Right.
Immediate block.
No, there are some things that you feel so deeply connected to. That person has to at least respect that you're a fan. But if they're calling it stupid shit, then there's no way, they have any respect for people who like it.
I feel like I needed to be with like a real ass fan though. Like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Or yeah, I've watched like the first 2 movies. Like that's not going to cut it.
That's
unless they're like, I'll watch it for you. and I'll read them for you. Like if there's that energy, sure, but no.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I like when people, we don't have the exact same interests because it's good for there to be some differences.
Differences in everything else.
And you have to listen to Harry Potter podcast. If you don't, I don't want to date you.
Yeah, I was like, and you have to listen to MuggleCast or else.
Always like, show me your subscribe. Send me a screenshot with the time.
Yeah.
Did y'all see my social media where I was like, rate episode or podcast 5 stars or else?
You said that?
Yeah.
Where?
She also said you better wish Laura a happy birthday or else.
Or else.
That's
I
funny.
love that.
That's funny. That's good. Yeah. I don't know if I would threaten people about reviewing us. I don't know how Spotify and Apple Podcasts would. You may have noticed.
Say, listen, our social media is run by a Gen Zer. Just like, don't hold that against her.
She's a kid.
It's her humor.
See, you may have noticed that when I've made the ask for people to review us, I don't say rate us 5 stars because I don't want to pressure people. I want to know they're genuinely giving us a 5-star review because they want to, not because I asked them to.
Well, we're a 5-star podcast, so why wouldn't they? I'm like trying to fight. Like, you rate us less than 5 stars. I'm coming.
Oh gosh, you kill me.
Look out, y'all. Be careful.
I'm very scary.
Well, I think it's time to wrap this up.
I think
Chloé,
so too.
It was a delight to have you on. This is exactly
Love
what I
you
expected
all.
would happen. It was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Thanks everybody for listening and for your support. We really, really, really appreciate it. We could not do this without you. We couldn't. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. And we'll see you in the new year. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
For more After Dark installments and a full edition of this one, visit patreon.com/millennial and pledge at the $5 level or higher.